What's up, YouTube? This your boy DB Clips.
It's your girl, Bobbi B.
And you guys are tuned into the Boykins Chronicles.
The channel that's headed to the top.
Because we can't be stopped. So today, guys, we are actually here to pretty much give you guys a story time. Story time today.
We're talk a little bit about our experience, shall we say.
Right, but it's story time.
Okay.
Based off our experience.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so story time for today, man, it involves our daughter Kalaya. And we actually went through something that I'm sure a lot of parents have went through with their kids, but they maybe not to this extreme. But our daughter Kalaya, which is our oldest daughter, she actually came down with a disease called Impetigo.
And Impetigo is a skin infection disease.
Yeah.
And if you watched the last video, the pool day video, this was the day before she was full blown sick. So we wasn't really sure what was going on with her because she was in daycare and she stayed with a runny nose. But she was kind of acting off that evening anyway, just very tired and whiny. Yeah. And then a lot of things just unfolded the next day.
Yeah, you could kind of see it in her face that she really wasn't feeling well. But basically, Impetigo. Bobbi actually has the technical definitions of it.
It's a skin infection disease caused by basically Staphylococcus or strep. We all have bacteria that lives on our skin. That's fine on the outside of our skin, but once it gets down into the body, if the immune system doesn't keep it in check, that bacteria will grow in places it's not supposed to. And basically, she developed a skin infection that got into her bloodstream and showed up all over her body. But first, it started on her face, so her nose and her mouth, and then it just spread from there because she touched her face so much, and then little scabs are on her face and blisters, and then it just kind of went everywhere. So Da Vinci's the first one that really noticed because that very next day after the pool day, I had picked up a day shift at the hospital, so I was out of the house by 5 a.m. I didn't see her that morning. And I did tell Da Vinci not to send her to school because she was up kind of whiny all night, almost every other hour, complaining of her lymph nodes. Now, mind you, Kalaya had a fever 5 days before that, but it wasn't persistent and it went away, and she didn't get any medication on Sunday, so we sent her to school Monday and Tuesday. Or was it Monday and Tuesday? I think we sent her both days.
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, we ended up having to pick her up that Friday, watch her Saturday and Sunday, and didn't give her any medication Sunday, and sent her back to school Monday and Tuesday. And when she was doing all that crying going into Wednesday morning, I was like, something's not right with her. I feel like her lymph nodes are hurting from whatever she's fighting off, and she just don't need to go today. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to send her today. And so while I was at work that morning, I was like, if you want to take her to urgent care, you need to go ahead and take her early, because I already know once you hit lunchtime and later on in urgent cares, it's ridiculous. You can't get an appointment. Your wait time is just going to be terrible. He was like, no, I think she's fine. I'm like, okay, you made the call. I'm all the way an hour and a half away. So I was going off of his judgment. And then probably 4 or 5 hours later, Da Vinci messages me and he's like, I think she has monkeypox. So I'm spiraling at work, talking to this other nurse, I don't know what it could be. These are the symptoms. I'm comparing the symptoms, trying to play doctor and see what diagnosis I think it is. But Da Vinci finally gets her to urgent care at what? 5 o'clock? It was late. I was able to get him an appointment, but it was late.
It was 7. It was 7. Somewhere around 7 o'clock, 7:15. But you know how it is with urgent care. It's you get there at 7. You might not be back there, or you might not go back there to see the doctor until 8, 8:15, 8:30,
it was
whatever.
one of those urgent cares that's open 8 to 8, and so I know he kind of probably wished he would have taken her that morning while the baby was in daycare. But sometimes it's you don't know if you should take your kid in because they're like, oh, it's viral, blah, blah, blah. But what really prompted him to take her was by middle of the day, she had developed a few water blisters on her nose, and then some were scabbing over. And so with the whole monkeypox thing starting to come to the surface, That's what Vinci thought it was. And honestly, I hadn't really ever paid attention to the word impetigo or the diagnosis because I had not ever really dealt with it. I work in the NICU, which is with basically fresh babies. And impetigo is not something that they usually come down with. This is something that normally happens in peds or pediatric patients, and I don't work with that population, honestly. I work with fresh, newborn, tiny, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pound babies, not full-blown toddlers. So, yeah, he took her in, and you can tell that story. It was probably pretty traumatic. I'm glad I didn't have to take her because it was popping up in her private areas and her face primarily to start.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, taking her to the doctor, it was kind of traumatic, like I said, because she actually, I could tell she didn't feel well. She did not feel well at all, and basically, she was just kind of whiny. She was kind of snacking on some stuff, some snacks or whatever the case may be, while we're actually en route. But when I really started to get concerned is when I was trying to pick her up, and kind of like hold her and stuff like that, and she actually didn't want to be picked up because she was hurting. Now, with impetigo, for those that don't know, and especially in Kalaya's case, she actually developed lesions. So, like Bobbi was saying, initially they started out as little like water blisters. But they eventually turned into lesions, meaning that the blisters broke open, and they were now sores. And at this point in time, she actually had these lesions. She had a few on her face. They were small, like I said, just kind of looked like scabs or whatever. But I didn't know it until we got to the urgent care that she actually had a lesion in her private area. Because I tried to pick her up, like on her, picking her up by her butt or whatever, and she did not want to be touched at all there. And so I went out and I changed her diaper or whatever, and she tensed up, and I'm like, all right, normally she do that, early on in her earlier stages when, she might get a rash or something like that, but she's,
and mind you, Kalaya normally goes to the potty, so she was avoiding going to the potty, and we were having to put pull-ups on her because her butt was, like, her labia was sore.
Yeah, and so that initially that's initially what it was, her labia. For those that don't know, labia, whatever, her vagina lips or whatever, just go to Google. She ended up having a blister kind of like in between her labia. And so at that moment right there, it was tough for me. I'm not even gonna lie, because she had to be checked, you know what I mean? And the doctor ended up having to swab her down in her private area.
And all her sore areas, they had to swab her to send it off for the monkeypox.
Yeah, the test for monkeypox. Now, mind you, he was saying that, we'll test for monkeypox, but at the same time, he was like, I don't think it's monkeypox. Now, where we're from, he told me that they had only had like one case of monkeypox, and it wasn't at that urgent care. So,
I think it was like 1 or 2.
So they didn't necessarily know. They didn't really know what to look for. But he had said that he didn't think that it was monkeypox. So I'm like, okay, that's not really telling me a lot. You know what I mean? But he did say that he thought that it was impetigo. And so, like Bobbi was saying, that when he told me that, I actually went and I did some research on my own, and I actually, sent a message to Bobbi and just let her know that this is what the doctor said. And so she went in a frenzy and started doing her own research. But I didn't know.
The symptoms are just like kind of confusing, I think, because her sores weren't fully scabbing yet.
Yeah.
And then with the monkeypox where they popped up, so it was just like, I didn't really know. It was very early really for me to be like looking at the stuff on Google. Like, I was like, I don't know. I still want these monkeypox results beforehand. But he decided to go ahead and start treating her right then for impetigo while we waited for the monkeypox, because that had to be sent off like your COVID PCR, and it was going to take like 2 to 4 days to get the results back, which I am grateful he went ahead and started her on something, because Wednesday was just beginning. Like, she got much worse.
Yeah, it got worse. It was terrible. Like, she actually, when I took her to the doctor, it took a turn for the worse. So we're talking Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I know it was 3 days where she was literally like bedridden.
Yeah, well,
and so
Thursday,
the scabs or the lesions or whatever, more started to come.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just that the one in her private area. She ended up and actually we have some photos that we'll share, so just so you guys can have understanding of kind of how bad it was. But she actually ended up having lesions that just came out of nowhere. She had it on her back, behind her ear, on her up under her neck.
Yeah.
It was bad, man, on her eye. And it's one of those things that as a parent, man, you're looking at it and it's like, man, this is crazy, because you hate to see your child go through something like that. And it's crazy because me and Bobby had a conversation. But I'm actually, like I said, she was bedridden, she was hurting, she didn't want to be touched, she didn't want to be hugged, she didn't want to have anything to do with us. All she wanted to do was lay in her bed, eat a snack or two whenever she felt like it, drink something whenever she felt like it. And the biggest thing was just we were trying to make sure that we were trying to get her up and so that she can go use the bathroom and stuff like that, so that she wouldn't be peeing on herself and stuff like that. But and then we also knew that she needed to take a bath, because we knew that the oatmeal bath would be the best thing for her.
After she got diagnosed, Da Vinci was with her out pretty late. He got the medication at a pharmacy that closed at 10 p.m. thankfully, and I was on my way back from Charlotte at that time. When we got home that night, I think we just gave her medicine as she went to bed, and she actually slept all night long. Like, she slept until probably like almost 10 o'clock. I think she woke up whining at like 6 before Da Vinci went to work, and I gave her some Tylenol because I was trying to like help her pain. I was rotating Tylenol, ibuprofen before she went to bed, and when she got up, and then she went back to sleep when Da Vinci left for work and slept till 10. Now, mind you, Kalaya, we don't have children that sleep in. Like, our kids are up between 7 and 7:30 typically, at the latest 8 o'clock. And so when she was still asleep, I knew like she was not feeling well. But me, I'm like, okay, well, she's had, I was getting ready to give her a second dose of antibiotics, or I had gave her the second dose of antibiotics already. So typically, when she's had antibiotics in the past for ear infection, she's normally like turns a corner really fast. Like, Kalea is not a wimpy sick child. She's one of them that will like be sick and still be running around as long as her fever is broken. So when she was still in the bed, she would not let me hold her, hug her. She would not get up out of the bed at all Thursday. I could not get her to get up. Like, that was the worst day, Thursday. She would not get up. And I did have to force her to let me take her pull-up off that morning after she peed. And I let her butt just air out after I kind of like cleaned her a little. And then I just tried to keep her comfortable. And I won't lie, I think I cried like 3 separate times that day. Like, we had blown up the air mattress in her room just so I could sit in there with her. Oh. Her sister was kind of just going around playing, but she was fine. But I'm like, I've got to take care of Kalea and the baby. It was mentally hard. Like I said, I cried 3 times. I barely got her to drink anything that day. I think she only peed like once or twice. And I'm like, okay, as long as she pees at least once in 24 hours, because I'm going into nurse mode. Like, she really ready for me to take her to the ER because she's not falling under certain things. And 2, what she had to go through in urgent care. I'm like, if she don't even want me to hold her and touch her because her skin is so sensitive, imagine me putting her in the car seat against her wheel and then taking her and letting another stranger, i.e. doctor, nurse, and everybody else, touch on her. I was like, I'm not going to put her through all that as long as she's like hitting the bare minimum. Like, I'm a nurse. I'm not stupid. Now, mind you, our mothers were kind of like getting testy with us. Like, you need to take her to the hospital tomorrow. I'm like, do you not realize they held her down and swabbed her private area? Like, that's already traumatic, and she's hurting. Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing that to her. As long as she's hitting the bare minimum, I'm just going to keep an eye on her. And that's just what I decided to do. And then that night when Da Vinci got home Thursday at like 8 or 9 o'clock, I was like, I need you to carry her and put her in the tub because it was starting to pop up. That's when we noticed it was like her skin, it wasn't even a ton, like there were lesions, but her skin was so sensitive that if she like if you grabbed her too hard, and not even hard, just like how you pick up a child, some of it would rub off.
Rub off, yeah. It was crazy.
And like on the back of her knees, like from having it bent, and she wouldn't even press skip on the iPad. Because yes, I let this girl watch my iPad all day in bed that day because I just wanted her to be distracted and not whining. She wouldn't even move her arm to hit skip, and that girl know how to work my iPad. Like it was hard, and so I had Davincia get oatmeal soak. He had to force her against her will in a bath, and then we put her right back into bed probably like after 30-45 minutes of soaking, and that was the worst day.
Yeah, and it like I said, it ended up being 3 days. I know she was bedridden for 3 days.
She got up a little bit Friday after her bath. She got up a little bit more Friday, but Saturday she was up. Like it took probably Thursday night, 3 days of antibiotics, and that's what kind of was like making me like, well, maybe this ain't Impetigo because 24 to 48 hours. I'm like, this is taking forever. And we also had a topical cream that we were putting on her. Now by this point, Friday, her scabs on her face from I tried to wipe her eye, and she fought me, and it made a big old scab under her right eye. That skin just peeled off. I wasn't even forceful. I was just trying to get some stuff out of her eye, and she's very how kids will turn. Yeah, she would do some moves like that and make her her skin even worse. She has one on her neck from where her and her sister were tussling over a toy. I think that was Saturday. The skin just peeled back, and I had to get a gauze and some Vaseline or some ointment and kind of put it back in place and cover it up because it was just a fresh pink area. It was something I don't never want to go through again. I ain't gonna lie to you because I can handle some sickness, but we kept her out of school for a week and a half, almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it was tough too because we were trying to make sure that, even with, because like I said, it was contagious. Just trying to make sure that our youngest daughter, she wanted to play with her sister and all that kind of stuff like that, but just trying to get her to understand, which she didn't get it, but that she can't, that she can't, she can't play with her sister, and that was tough in itself. Yeah. And for me, man, I ain't gonna lie, that first when I took her to urgent care, that first night, that just kind of messed with me because I actually wasn't with Kalaya. Like Bobbi was saying, I went to work.
Yeah, that Thursday he called me 3 times. Yeah, you must really be worried because he never called me.
It was crazy, man.
Once.
Because I'm literally, man, I'm at work.
Text me, but he called me 3 times.
Yeah, I'm at work and I'm stressing because I'm man, I ain't never seen my baby like this before, and like I said, I can't do nothing for her.
She wouldn't even let you hold her.
She, I just can't express my love for her, obviously, because she doesn't really understand words that much. So it's just all about the physical touch for me to be able to hold her and stuff like that. But that was rough, man. I don't wish that on no child, nor do I wish it on any parent because I'm sure that, it's a common skin disease, but there are.
It normally doesn't get this.
It doesn't get that bad. So Kalaya's case was it was magnified for whatever reason. I don't know why her body reacted to it the way that it did, but it was rough, man. And like I said, that was really the first experience for us in terms of our kids where something like that traumatic has happened, and so for us, to deal with it.
She's had a million ear infections and colds and GI bugs and strep, and those were down a day or 2, back to normal. Yeah. This was a drawn out week and a half, almost 2 week experience. And then once she even got over it, her face was just so scabby. She looked like an animal literally tried to eat her face off because she had scabs on her forehead, scab on her eyes, scab over here. All of her mouth had scabbed up, and then she started picking it off over the weekend when she started to feel better. Yeah. And then she had a big old where that skin had flaked up, brown, black. I'm we look like we beat this child. And as a mom, you don't want your kid to have scars and stuff, but I was just happy. I ain't gonna lie, I was just happy she was okay and was
better,
getting
like,
better
yeah, that
because
was the
like
thing.
my heart, like I was like I can only imagine what parents go through with even like chronic diagnosis because I felt so helpless, like Vinci said, not being able to. Normally, Kalaya is very cuddly. When she don't feel good, she wants you to hug her, kiss her, rub her. She didn't even want you to touch her. It just feels like I can't even do anything for you, and I'm giving you all the medicine that I have, and it's not helping. And I'm putting on all the ointments, and people's giving me ointments they've made and sprays, natural remedies they bought. Like we literally had tea tree oil, antibiotic ointment, petroleum, shea butter, oatmeal soaps.
Everything.
I went and got gauze and
Epsom salt.
Yeah, like
You got it all.
literally everything you can think of. Turmeric rub, like I even had a natural spray. Somebody like literally everything. I had it.
Yeah.
And it was not. We didn't turn a corner until right like that Saturday.
Yeah.
That Saturday and Sunday. And mind you, DaVinci still went to work Friday and Saturday. So I was at home kind of getting cabin fever because I ain't gonna lie, I don't have to go out at least once a day, even when I have the kids by myself. So we didn't leave Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. DaVinci's mom thankfully came and let me go to the store to get some more stuff, and me and the little baby left. But I was like, I didn't want to take my Kalaya out looking like that, and people being so rude to her because I might get. I'm
offended.
Nice, but I'm
offended.
sure I would
offended
be
for sure.
say something smart. So we waited until she got over the hump, and I won't lie to y'all. On the bottle of her antibiotics, it says you can double the dose. I doubled the dose the first 3 days. I did. And I think back now, what if I had not?
I didn't know nothing about that.
It says you can. I used my nursing judgment.
Listen, man, I didn't know nothing about that.
And we still had enough to make it to 10 days. But if you read on the outside of the bottle, it said in severe cases, you can double the dose.
But I mean, she, like I said, man, I trust her judgment, man. She's
that Saturday
with her being a nurse, so
it's
all good, man.
But I think if I had not doubled that dose, like would that antibiotic had even worked because she got worse before she got better, even on medication. So take it up with Jesus if you got a problem with it. Don't comment or message me. She fine now. Yeah. So by that Wednesday, was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah.
Her scabs were almost like they were not brown anymore. She had picked a ton of it off. Leia is a picker and a messer. She bites her fingernails, and she started picking her scabs off, and it was driving me absolutely crazy.
Yeah. The thing too that Bobbi forgot to mention, but literally it took once her skin started to scab and everything like that, man, her entire body shed from head to toe. Like it was crazy because
it dried
almost
out.
Like
it was like dry.
When I say head to toe, like literally from head to toe, like
her
from her hairline, from where that started, her ears, her lips, every whole face, neck, arms, the trunk of her body, her feet, her hands and her feet were the last two to actually shed.
She dried and shriveled up. Like kind of when you get a sunburn and you have to go through that peeling phase once it's not hurt anymore. Her whole body did that. So then I'm thinking her whole body was probably so sore, and her lymph nodes hurt because had obviously been fighting this. So when I think back to her getting that first fever that Friday, like 3 to 5 days before she started showing symptoms of impetigo, I'm like, this is probably what it was the whole time. Her body was trying to fight it off before she showed symptoms, and it wasn't successful. Because I'm like, I understand your lymph nodes will swell in response to fight off something. But her body, it was just too much for her body. And if those who don't know, impetigo is more common in kids 2 to 5. Kalaya is 3. Kids that go to daycare. Kalaya was going to daycare full time, 4 to 5 days a week, 9 to 4:30. And she had a bunch of mosquito bites because we had went to a cookout. And we were out playing in the backyard, and me and Kaya, all three of us had got eaten up by mosquitoes like the week before that. So I'm like, how long had this been lingering? Because she probably had been trying to fight off on her own for a good week and a half. We just didn't have any outward symptoms of impetigo yet until her body was just like, So then it became a whole thing of, was it daycare? and a combination of the mosquito bites. Like, we really don't know. Obviously, I'm going to always blame daycare for everything because she stayed sick at that daycare she was at. Just because I know kids be all over each other and they're playing, and that's just what they do at that age. And we sent Kaya back to school. She was fine, the baby. But we felt a way when they sent her back home to be checked out because I felt like I'm a nurse. I've been watching my child. And she had like these little, Kaya still has them. Like, you know how you get heat rash? She has like very small scattered like bumps around her face. But at first they were around her mouth from like drooling. But they weren't pink, red, scabby, none of that. So when they sent her home, me and Da Vinci decided that we technically didn't need full-time daycare right now. And I think we were both really honestly traumatized from seeing Kalaya that sick, that he was like, we need to do something. And I was like, yeah, we do. Because I was thinking about it too. Like when he told me they sent Kaya home, I was like, I'm tired of being dependent on this care. And then we both employ ourselves and having to change things around. So we just decided that we were going to find a schedule in the event that they do have to be out. One of us will always be available. So we took a good, pulled them up. We did send Leia back to school, but their last day of daycare was the 31st of August. And then they started a very, very part-time preschool, much smaller. They only go like 3 hours, 3 days a week. And honestly, it's not a lot, but it still gives them that space to have fun and learn, but decrease the amount of exposure to other kids and germs. And I know my kids got to get sick, but I just feel like we need a good break this year. And we will try to maybe go into an actual pre-K program with her 5 days a week next fall.
So I mean, Kalaya, man, right now she's doing, like I said, she's doing well. She still has some scarring. Like even if you see her now, like it looks like she has a black eye from where she had a scar, the scar that was up under her eye.
It's healing so good, but it's still a little line.
Yeah, so we got the cocoa butter and the shea butter and all that stuff. So and we know that, like I said, she's young, so her skin is gonna fade and all that stuff. But even
and I'm
still, it's like
so I can't wait. She'll
be getting a lot of facials and stuff. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, we understand that her skin will heal and the scars will fade and stuff like that. But like I said, that was definitely a traumatic experience for us. We don't wish it on any child, nor any parents. And so, yeah, I mean, we just wanted to share this with you guys today, this story time, so that, if anything like this does happen to anybody else, you kind of know how to deal with it. And sometimes, you just have to let things take the course. But just want to say that, we appreciate you guys for tuning into this video today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, give this video a thumbs up. Remember to hit that notification bell to stay updated on all the latest videos that we drop. You guys are tuned into the Boykins Chronicles. We appreciate you guys and all your support.
We hope this video was helpful.
We love you guys. Yeah, we hope it was helpful. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.